1, 2, 1, 2.
One,
Testing.
two, 1, 2. We're in. We're rolling. Let's go. GSP's pumped in here. Let's get a round of applause for GSP. The GOAT, the greatest of all time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the love, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's take a seat. Let's get relaxed.
I'll stay standing. I like to see everybody like this. And I drank too many coffees this morning, so I'm pretty hyped up right now. Yeah, intoxicated of caffeine that I am.
Gotta get you on camera, man. We got the shot lined up.
Oh, that's it.
I'm sorry. Appreciate you coming, man. Like, the UK fans have wanted to see you over here for such a long time. You know, we were unfortunate that we never got to see you fight over here. You know, you had the Dan Hardy fight, the Bisping fight. Is that something that you wished you would have done to fight in front of this UK crowd?
I would have loved to fight elsewhere, but I think because of the business plan the UFC had at the time for the pay-per-view buys, that's why it was more lucrative to them to make me fight in Las Vegas or in Montreal, Canada. So that's why most of my fights were at home in Montreal, but or Vegas. Vegas actually is the place in the world where I fought the most. Because of a TV reason, for pay-per-view reason. Unfortunately, I would have loved to fight in front of a European crowd, 100%.
We would have loved to have seen it, man. Your career was absolutely crazy because sitting right here with you now, we're all looking at you as like the guy that conquered the welterweight division, the guy that absolutely dominated it and paved the way for the guys that are in that division today. But prior to you getting that world title, Matt Hughes was doing the same thing, right? And I remember watching the pre-fight promo for the rematch when you got the rematch, and you said, I couldn't even look in Matt's eyes because I was fighting my idol. That is wild to think that GSP had an idol that he was fighting. So where did that mindset change to when you said, I'm not impressed, I'm not impressed?
The thing is, what makes a fighter a great fighter and what makes him reach the next level, I think it's not only physical. Of course, you need to be a great athlete, be a good fighter physically, but the mental maturity that you gain over the years with the experience, that's what sometimes give you the extra edge. And when I fought Matt Hughes the first time, mentally, I don't think I was ready to become champion. It's after I gained a lot of confidence. And I believe confidence is one of the most important things for a fighter. If I can make an analogy, it's like if someone has a lot of money in his bank account, but no way of accessing it, it's the same thing. Someone has a lot of skill, but no confidence. It's the same thing. So in order for the magic to happen, you need the skills for sure and the confidence together. And that's where great things can happen.
Obviously, in a sport like MMA, like boxing, you have to have a great dance partner, right? And just touching on that, could it not have worked out better for you? You know, you didn't just beat someone that was a transitional champion, you beat someone that was a dominator, someone that you looked up to, and Matt still had an absolutely tremendous career after that loss, but you also beat him again, didn't you? You beat him twice as well, so it was brilliant to see.
Yeah, you fight. You can fight the same name, but you never fight the same fighter twice. So every experience that you have leave a scar. Sometimes it's for the best or for the worst. So you can fight the same guy many times, but you will never fight the same fighter. Sometimes things will make him change and it will make you change. And I do believe that the Matt Hughes I fought the first and second time was the top Matt Hughes, but the third time I fought him, I thought I'm under the impression he was a little bit on the way down and I was on the way up.
How did you find it on the flip side then? You know, you had a guy that you was looking up to. When did you start feeling like, right, these guys are getting a bit phased with GSP looking in their eyes? I'm a big name, I'm making people's legs quiver a bit when we're having these stare downs pre-fight. You must have felt that.
It came with experience, you know. Confidence is something that takes time to build up. Confidence, it appears depending of how you prepare yourself. And when I first fought Matt Hughes the first time, I lacked a lot of confidence because I didn't believe in myself enough that I had the tools to compete with that man. But after my first fight with him, when I look back at the tape, I saw that I could hang there with him. And even though I lost that fight, looking back at it on video, it made me gain a lot of confidence because I knew I had the tools to beat him. It just, the mental I didn't have at the time.
The welterweight run that you went on after that, you know, it's going to go down in history. Absolutely tremendous, and the division was absolutely stacked at the time as well. You know, you had guys like Thiago Alves who was wrecking people, John Fitch, tough guy, who was one of the only guys to beat him during the run that he was having. And then we had the huge fight, paved the way for the title versus title matches that we see today. BJ Penn, you know, that was something that really was out of the ordinary at that time. What was it like fighting a guy that was doing the same thing in the lower weight class, in the lightweight division?
I think the best fighter that I have fought, pound for pound, I think it's BJ Penn. For the time being, I think he was when he was in his prime, he was the perfect fighter, and he was a hell of a puzzle to solve. I remember the first fight I had with him, he gave me the worst beating I ever had in a fight. You know, even though I won in a split decision, it took me a few days to recuperate from that fight. I was at the hospital, I was bloody, I was a mess. But I learned a lot from it, and the second time I fought him, I did a better performance.
Yeah, and then when you look at some of the biggest nights in your career, the Toronto one stands out, and it's not one that people talk about a lot, the Jake Shields fight, right? Because I remember when that fight was happening 11 years ago, 2011, the UFC had never done a stadium show like that, and it was the first one in Toronto as well. Absolutely huge for the sport. What was that like walking out of that stadium that night? It must have been tremendous.
Yeah, it feels very strange. I mean, I remember walking to the octagon, it feels like, because normally the shows are in an arena, but this show was in a stadium in front more than 50,000 people, so it was just a different atmosphere. But I always told myself, when something is strange and it's unknown, for me, it is strange and unknown for my opponent as well. So I don't see that as a disadvantage. I see it as a neutral thing. And it's the one that will adapt himself the best to the environment that will succeed, that has the odds to succeed the best.
Because he was coming through as Strikeforce champion as well. We had a similar sort of thing where we had in 2007 with the Pride acquisition. We had the Strikeforce guys coming through. A lot of them guys did end up having success, like Luke Rockhold ended up winning the middleweight title. So that was a real big fight feel with that one, with the Jake Shields fight. And then after that one, the Nick Diaz one, part of the Strikeforce acquisition. That was a fun one for the fans. Everyone wanted to see it from the Where You At, George promo that he cut. You're a very cool, calm and collected man. What was it like having the Diaz bros on you like that?
I never took it personal. For me, a fight, it's strictly business. There is no fighter that I have fought that I have a negative attitude towards. Like, I like all the guys that I've fought because we share a moment, we share a bond that I will remember forever. And any of those guys today, if they are in trouble, it would be my pleasure to help them. You know what I mean? For sure, when you fight someone to promote the fight, you know, there's the mental game, you know, the trash talking and all that, but it never affect me, and then I don't take it personal.
Yeah, and then obviously the fight that the world wanted to happen, for whatever reason, it didn't, the Anderson Silva fight. You two in your prime, that would have been something to behold. Was there ever a time when that was a realistic offer? Was there ever a realistic offer on the table? From your side of things, is that something that you look back on and think, I would have loved to have tested myself against that guy?
Yeah, it could have been done. The problem is the UFC has the power to make it happen. Many fights could have been done, but they did not happen because of the UFC. I mean, at the time I was very busy in my division, and a lot of people were talking about that fight, and the UFC came to me only once to offer me that fight. And at that time I was on a winning streak in my own division. So if you go up in weight, then you come back down, it's very hard because you have to change your weight and everything. So I was ready to take the fight, but to do like a catch weight, and with also implementing drug testing. The UFC never wanted to do it. They never wanted to pay the extra money, and they never wanted to make the catch weight and implement drug testing for that fight. So that's why it never happened. If they would have done it, I would have done it. And even if Anderson at the time would have come down at 170, I would not have choice. It was part of my contract, my existent contract of the time, to fight at 170. But now they wanted me to do something different, so they needed to accommodate the rules for that to happen. But they didn't want to do it. They did not want to do it.
What was your outlook on the other divisions at the time, you know, because you came through a time where champions were just dominating the divisions for a while. Yourself, BJ, as we mentioned, Anderson Silva. Were you looking at those guys and drawing inspiration from them, even though obviously you are your own source of inspiration, but it's a different time because now you see belts passing from quite frequently in comparison to previous times. It seemed inconceivable that you or Anderson Silva would lose your belt during those times.
The records are made to be broken. There will be guys that will beat the title defense record 100%. It will happen sooner or later. For me, I look up to all my predecessors. Mark Coleman, Dan Severn, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, especially Royce Gracie. These guys, the old guys, the older guys, they're the one that paved the way for us to make a living with this. So for me, my heart, I have a very warm and special feeling when I meet these guys. So I'm just as much of a big fan than I'm sure any one of you when I meet one of these guys out there, you know.
It is awesome. It's awesome to have all you guys here.